Hi, welcome to Tampon Talk with Mary. Welcome to the show that only airs once a month. Quick story. Okay, this is so funny because this is so perfect. You'll see what I mean here in a second. Here's my quick story. I was getting ready for like a long day of work. Kind of coming up, and I was gonna have a lot of opportunities to change out a tampon or a pad or something like that. So it's usually when I go to my Diva Cup. So this most recent time, I fell asleep in the Diva Cup, and I thought, well, I'll just change it out, and then I'll clean it out, and I'll just put it in, and I'll go on and do the day or whatever. And I wake up in the morning, getting ready to go to this gig, and it's a heavy period day, so this cup's got to be full. So get on the toilet, go to pull it out, and it's stuck. It's stuck, and it's stuck because I don't know what it is like in my vaginal canal, but there's kind of like a little bit of skin or something that kind of pokes out. That there's like a hole on one side skin, and then the hole on the other side that's sort of the main entrance to the canal. That's like a tight bit of skin. So what I had done the night before was I put on my Diva Cup, and the stem was facing the side that was kind of under the skin side, not the side that was in the sort of the main opening side. So I went to go pull it out, and it hurt really bad. Like I was like yanking it. So I had to shove it up to kind of get it around the skin and then pull it out. I know this is very hard to describe, but I was really struggling to push it up and then out. And I was trying not to panic, because if I panic, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start running late for this gig. I was like, keep your cool, stay calm. We're adults. Let's do this. I get in the bathtub. Lay on my back, and I'm like, you can get your fingers up there. You can do it. So I'm like pushing, and I'm pushing, and it's like slipping, and it's not quite, like my finger's not quite pulling it up. And I get it. Eventually it just hooks around. Like I feel it hook around, get out of the hole. I press down, pull it out, and it's like this is very visual. Chunky blood just falls out, and just lands in the shower, and I have to just turn the shower on, and just do it. But we got out of there. We made it. You know what's so funny? So because this was done with my Diva Cup, you know who our guest is? the CEO and the creator of the Diva Cup. Like, that's so exciting. We literally had the CEO of the Diva Cup, and I was able to tell a Diva Cup story. How funny is that? I am so excited for this interview. She is so lovely. I certainly want to go right into the interview and have her introduce herself and the amazing things that Diva Cup is doing. They also did a documentary, which we get into, called Pandoras Box, which pays more attention to kind of the things in our society that relate to stigma around menstruation, period poverty, period homelessness. Phenomenal documentary, which you can now watch on YouTube. We talk a little bit about it in the episode, but I was just so excited to have a Diva Cup story for the CEO of Diva Cup. That's a very cool moment for me, and I'm so glad you all were here for it. But without further ado, I want to get right into the episode. But I'd love, for listeners, if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and the Diva Cup. We'll start from there.
Sounds good. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Carinne. I'm the CEO and founder of Diva, makers of the original Diva Cup. And we live in near Toronto, Canada, and started Diva 20 years ago. I actually started the company with my mom, Francine, and she had the vision for this product way back when she was like 13 years old, back in the 60s, and was like dreaming that this product existed. And we really started with the vision to bring this to the world and make this available for every woman and menstruator. and it's been like a pretty crazy ride. I also have two kids. I'm married with have 11-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter, and two dogs, two German Shepherd and a Lab mix. And yeah, life is busy. Life is good. Can't
Mm-hmm.
complain too much.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean the what's interesting about just the Diva Cup itself is it sparked like all the other, like it seems to have sparked a lot of other like cups where, you know, even other cups are referred to as a Diva Cup. But I love
Yeah.
that there's innovation within the industry. But I mean it feels like the first thing that I had ever had exposure to in terms of a cup was the Diva Cup. Um, but that's, I mean, that was awesome. So yeah, when I saw your email and it was like, oh yeah, I created a Diva Cup, I was like, yeah, I know what that is, of course.
That's awesome. Well, people don't realize that the first cups were invented in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
And even way back, I think even to Egyptian times, they showed kind of receptacles and other devices. But they weren't really popular and they weren't really well known. And when my mom discovered that the concept existed and nobody knew about it, she's like, this is crazy. Everyone needs to know about this. And this is what
Yeah.
I've been waiting for and thinking about my whole life. So it's like, it just makes so much sense. And we're excited to see how much the category has grown and how people have really ad- adopted the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so kind of a segue into a you know, we are called Tampon Talk, but this is funny. I did say this before we actually interviewed you. Is on every show I like to invite my guests to share a tampon terror story. Now it doesn't have to be stories related to a tampon. It could be a Diva Cup dilemma. Could be a pad problem. So yeah, I said Diva Cup dilemma well before you were here, but
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, let me think because I actually started using my first menstrual cup when I was 14 years old. I'd only had my period for about a year, but I do have a story about my first period. Um, and we didn't know about cups yet. And of course, like my very first period, we were going to my aunt and uncle's for a pool party, and all my cousins were going to be there and we were going to be swimming, and my mom was like trying to get me to use a tampon and I just could not like wrap my head around it and trying to insert it, and I tried all morning and I just couldn't get it in. And then I'm like, okay, I'll try again when I get there. And I was in the bathroom, oh my gosh, for like at least an hour. Everyone's like, where's Carinne? What's going on? And my mom's at the door and she's like, come on, Carinne, just put it in. Just put it in. And I'm like, I can't do it. I remember I finally just like pushed it in and it went like halfway. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I got it. It was so uncomfortable. But it was like, it's scary the first time. It really, like, when you don't understand how your body works. And
yeah.
but that was pretty traumatic for me. I remember that. I don't think I'll ever forget that day.
Yeah, and I have even heard. Yeah, it's so true that we just like, you know, what kind of context do we get like to be able to do that when we're younger? I knew people who would have the entire applicator in them and be like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to
Oh
be,"
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like my goodness, it reveals some more daunting signs of, you know, just we need to talk more about it. But oh my goodness.
I know. I have a lot of other I have many stories that maybe I'll try to work into our conversation today. But it is so true. A lot of like there really needs to be more education about our bodies, about our anatomy. So
Yeah.
that would take a lot of fear away, I think.
Sure, and stigma, you know, and
Mhm.
I think, yeah, exactly. And sort of on a similar vein is that this is kind, you know, this whole topic is pretty taboo, And I think including that as the product. So, you know, like the Diva Cup and team being able to talk about it is taboo. You kind of were like getting into it a little bit about how, you know, your mother had the idea. But I wanted to see if you kind of give us a story of like how it sort of fully came to be, and then like what was it kind of like to break through the market itself of
Yeah.
introducing a product like this?
Well, she ended up discovering a cup, that the cup existed and the concept existed when I was 14. So that's when we started using them. And she dedicated the next, I don't know, nine years, I think, 8 or 9 years to promoting and really pioneering this category. And she was selling it like all over the world. And this was like before the internet. And I think in when she first started in maybe like 92, 93, um, she was one of I think she was the first person selling any menstrual cup on the internet. And my dad was a techie guy, so he knew about this internet thing and got it all set up, got a website set up and e-commerce site, or a very, very early e-commerce site. And so that she really promoted and dedicated her life to this concept. And when I graduated from university, we decided, you know, there really was an opportunity to make a better version, like modernize it out of modern materials. Their early products were made out of latex rubber, and they almost look like this brown toilet plunger, like a little mini toilet plunger thing. And it was very hard to convince women to use it because they were like, what? That's so crazy looking. So it was definitely a process. It took us a couple of years to modernize it and get all the health certifications and FDA and Health Canada clearance. And we had a big vision. We're like, we're going to get this out there. We're going to get this to the world. Everybody's going to be able to have this as an option. And of course, it didn't exactly go that way. It took a very long time. It was very grassroots in the beginning. It took us many, many years. It took us maybe 5 or 6 years to build up a couple thousand retail stores with the health industry, within the health industry, primarily natural product stores, but also boutiques and specialty stores as well. And 11 years after we started, we finally got our first mass retailer, which was CVS. And that was like a game changer. So from that moment, we really started promoting it and expanding into other chains. And that's when I think it started becoming more mainstream. So, and that was our vision. It was like, today you can start a business and you can do a direct to consumer business, but this category was so critical that we pioneered in the mass market, in the drugstores where people were buying their other products, so that it was viewed as a legitimate option.
Yeah. And I think it's come at like in well, first, amazing, wow. And just it's come at like uh in an amazing time of where we are in the world about sustainability, which I think is interesting because you know, the 1930s and even all the way through the 60s was a lot of that, you know, like glass containers, and then we weren't so disposable until much
Yeah.
later. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, now it's entered you know, this world that's about sustainability because there's like a need of like necessity for it. So I was interested to see, like, with Diva Cup really kind of being at the forefront of that initially, like where do you see kind of the future of like period sustainability? It's a loaded
Yeah,
question.
I think it's definitely going in the right direction. When we started, it didn't matter how much people cared about the environment. Like, they wouldn't use the concept because it was good for the environment. Like, that just wasn't a thing. If it was like more inconvenient, that was still more important to them than the sustainability.
Mm.
Attitudes now, I definitely think, are shifting, especially with the millennial Gen Z. I'm so impressed, and I love that this is like considered so much more and so important. And there are other options. So we're seeing a lot more acceptance for cups, for period underwear, for reusable pads, for all the reusabilities. And it's going to make a difference. I mean, when you look at the billions of tons of waste, I mean, we can't keep doing that to the environment. So it's just very exciting to me to see how far it's really comes about having more options, having them readily available, and also having people willing to explore those sustainable options.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's an interesting conversation in that it kind of also bleeds into bleeds, no pun intended. It kind of bleeds into period poverty and how, you know, we work with a world that has disposable products and like a product that is a reusable one, like a Diva Cup. And you kind of like cover, I mean, this as well as like a bunch of other subjects related to it in your documentary, Pandora's Box. And I wanted to see just what in particular inspired you to make the film about something like as taboo as this. And, you know, why is it important to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we started, when we started Diva, we've always been really involved in community and giving back and working with different not-for-profits, trying to change the needle on that. And we hadn't really formalized anything, but in 2018, we began to formalize that. And it was actually um, the end of 2017, I was speaking at Period Con, and it was run by Period, the organization. And it was the first kind of national conference to talk about periods and issues around that menstruators face. And I was a keynote speaker for the event. So it just felt like such a historical thing. I'm like, we need to record this. Like, we need to capture this content. And there was so many interesting people there. We started interviewing people, and we ended up getting a film crew, and we weren't really sure exactly what we were going to do with it. We thought like maybe we could make a short series of like educational materials. And then the concept just kept growing. Like the more we dug into it, the more we realized how far and deep and wide the issues, not just surrounding period poverty, but around sustainability, around like the whole umbrella of menstrual equity, which is really basic human rights. And so as the story unfolded, as we went to other countries, the documentary just kept getting bigger and bigger. It's a full-length film, and there is nothing like it out there. And we use it today for a lot of educational, a lot of groups do screenings, impact screenings. And I think it is making an impact, because we know that there's so much shame and discrimination. You already mentioned it, taboos around menstruation.
Yeah.
And around periods, and just getting people, like it's kind of like a conversation starter. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, like people came out of the film going, I didn't even know. Like even being in the industry that I'm in for 20 years, I still didn't have like some of the stories that were captured are so powerful and just tell a different side. And we just don't realize, those issues are so pertinent today.
Yeah. I mean, I was even shocked to see the England statistic of like one in five girls like can't afford, you know, particular supplies and things. Like that's it's crazy to see even how far the equity really like is in terms of people being able to afford, you know, products or sustainability, like afford products for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even touching upon like the inclusion of the whole thing, you know, our dialogue around it, saying people who menstruate, you know, just like being more inclusive on that front, which I really love in particular about the documentary, is that it just covers, like such a broad span of the dialogue. 'Cause you're totally right. Like it's
Mhm.
in getting into this own podcast, it was sort of like, am I going to run out of things to talk about? And after years of doing this, no, I have not run out of things because there's so much stuff to cover on just this one particular issue. Um, yeah,
It's so true. It's so true. And I'm glad that you felt that way too about the documentary. And there's, I mean, I didn't realize what happens in prisons with menstrual supplies. Like I didn't realize that they don't necessarily have access and they have to buy them, and like it's almost used as a form of control.
yeah.
And the stories are pretty powerful and shocking, actually.
Yeah. I was very fortunate to interview someone on this podcast who was in prison and like described that to me. So along with the documentary and being able, that was one of the biggest stories I wanted to like do, like go to a prison and like actually like try to make, it's so impossible to do because they really want to keep a lot of that under wraps. And
Yeah.
especially in the United States, where we have the highest incarceration rate in the world. Like it's crazy that with that large of a statistic, we make it impossible for people who are in jail to access menstrual products, and making them even pay for it in jail on like a hour salary of like 14 cents an hour or something like that, but still have it be the retail price it is in the modern world. You would like never really be able to afford a box of tampons. Like,
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Well, I'm so glad you did a story on that, and I think it's great, like this type of forum, and that's what we need more of. Like we need to have these conversations and just bring these issues so people know what's going on, and we're not ashamed, and we can hopefully incite some change too. That's the whole point, is that let's like move past this. We're now 2022. The world has been through, a crazy time the last couple of years, and
yeah,
which it made the problem even worse. Like we had to do a lot more outreach and financial and product donations over the last 2 years because of the pandemic.
well,
But we need to move the needle on this.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and and it's almost exactly what you're saying. Like it's so passe. Like why aren't we like why not? Duh.
Well, there's a interview in the documentary where Obama is being interviewed by a young woman, and she says something like, "If this was an issue that men were facing, do you think it would be solved?" And he's like, "Absolutely. I think this would have been solved a long time ago."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't start wars or anything, so it's like, we're just asking for the bare minimum to be
Yeah,
able to
come
talk
on.
about periods. Yeah.
Um,
There is so much to say on, all of this. Too. We could probably sit here and continue talking about it. But I wanted to see, do you have kind of any final thoughts on anything we've been talking about? The cup, your documentary, the market, like,
oh my gosh, there's so many things, like
yeah,
so many things I could touch on. I think it's just exciting. We're at a really cool place in our journey as a company, um, looking at and working on innovation, looking at just how to grow our impact and create even more meaningful partnerships, and our team is doing a fantastic job. Like I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, and we became a certified B Corp a few years ago, and we're really focused on using our brand as a force for good in the world. And like that excites me. That keeps me going. I know that, cups are almost like a utility now, and it's important to have them, and it's important that they're available and accessible and an option. And there's just so much we can do as an organization, as a company, and we're in a like really creative cycle right now, which we haven't been able to truly be in for a long time. So that's something I'm really super pumped about. And we actually just released our impact report as well. So if anyone's interested in seeing what Diva does, it's on our website, divacup.com. And we added it up. We donated over $3 million in product
Wow.
and financial donations.
Wow.
So I mean, like that's something that we can be really proud of, and just changing the world. Like let's just keep going.
Yeah.
We couldn't come this far to give up. And that's truly what gets me up every day.
Wow. Wow. Ah, you put such a nice little bow on it. That was wonderful. Amazing. Well, and let's kind of sort of throwing this in there is where can people watch your documentary? If you want to shoot us that.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited that we um, released it on YouTube in January. It was for 2 years. It was only available on streaming services, and now it's available for free on YouTube. So you can find Pandora's Box, the film, lifting the lid on menstruation, and watch it, send it to all your friends and family, and like start these conversations. Keep the ball rolling. And I will say, like, even people that weren't interested in it, even guys that were like, I don't care about this, were blown away by the film. So definitely watch it, check it out, and follow our journey on our social feeds. The Diva Cup, you can pretty much find us anywhere.
Isn't she lovely? She's so wonderful. It was such an honor to be able to have this interview. I mean, what a trailblazer, you could tell. Um, but if you are interested in purchasing the Diva Cup, you can get a 15% off discount when you use the code that is in the description of this episode. And it's valid through September. So make sure you grab your Diva Cups on the double. Yes, indeed. And know that you're going to be contributing to an amazing company that has donated a lot to a lot of period activists organizations and donate a lot of Diva Cups. And they're really making a wonderful, positive change in the world. So I was so excited to do this interview. I am so grateful for them for letting me do this interview. But yes, so check in the description below. You can get that discount code and follow their socials. But yes. Yes. What did we learn? Well, we learned a lot about period sustainability and covered in a very short amount of time kind of a lot of the other subjects that relate to the subject of menstruation and people who menstruate. Certainly, we could not talk about all of it in this episode, but I encourage you to check out Pandora's Box and, really explore that for yourselves. And, this platform, these episodes serve as a variety of different people with different opinions and backgrounds and things for you to check out. But yeah, well, if you have any questions for either of us, you can email me at tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. Make sure you follow our Twitter and our Instagram for podcast episode updates and other updates at tampontalkwmary. You can also, if this is an open platform, if you've got something to say, you want to be on the show, email me, tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. Hit me up. Let's talk about it. But I know you're going to go out in the world, and I know you're going to do amazing things. Maybe you'll bleed in a bathtub. Maybe you'll bleed in other places. Maybe into a Diva Cup, which would be ideal. But I hope that you keep on bleeding because you got this. It's going to be a-okay. And you've always got a home here, and we'll see you next time on Tampon Talk with Mary. Bye.